Once again, it's my honour to welcome you to the 4th annual conference of the IoT Security Foundation. The theme of the conference is security by choice, and hopefully that will become self-evident later what that means. It doesn't mean that you can do security or you cannot do security. It means once you get on your security journey, you'll have plenty of choices. And what we hope to illustrate today is where some of those choices, where some of your questions and where some of those answers may come from. The hashtag is IoTSF 2018, and our Twitter handle is @IoT_SF. So I'd like to extend a special warm welcome to you all and to our visitors that have come in from overseas. I've got two very special guests that I'm looking forward to introducing to you later before this session finishes. For those of you who don't know me, I'm John Moore. I'm the Managing Director of the IoT Security Foundation. So I'm going to take probably about 10 minutes just to give you a very brief overview about what we've been doing this year. It's been an incredibly busy year for us. Lots of good people working on lots of good outputs. So I'm going to be shifting gears quite quickly over the next few slides. So I know you want me to answer this question. Hey, John, what have you been up to? First thing, let's talk about membership. We've grown. We've grown about 20% this year in terms of corporate membership. There's a few of the members that have joined this year up on the slides. One of the things that we introduced this year is a professional membership. And this came from two directions. One, we were being asked constantly by individuals, could we join? We're not quite sure our company's ready to join yet, but I want to join. Could you create something for me? And we also had this requirement where we needed more good people to come into the working group so we could produce more materials. So we created a professional membership. We announced that on 28th of March this year. I'm delighted to say that already we've got 40 professional memberships active. And I guess here, the picture of the lovely lady here is Jenny. Jenny is my right-hand man. It's fair to say that very few things would get done without Jenny. We hope that those of you who are not members today, who are thinking about it, will actually join. So if you want to join, please go and see Jenny. We have a table upstairs, and she'll get you all hooked up. So here we go. I hope that most of you know that perfect security is asymptotic. Before we started the foundation, we had this notion that what we needed to do was give good examples of actually what does good security look like. We published 2 architecture policy documents this year. It's a series. We've got a couple more coming out early next year. But the first one that we started on was the enterprise. The enterprise architecture and policies is really for what you would expect traditional IT departments to be looking at, for those who are planning to introduce IoT, and for those who are trying to manage the invasion of IoT into their organization. So classically, that will be chief security architects, IT heads, CISOs, those sort of people. It has a companion. We've done one for the home, and although they look very similar, they're for distinctly different audiences. When we talk about the home, we're not talking about homeowners. What we're talking about are the box providers or the service providers. And so we've looked at this and said, you know, security needs to be provisioned straight out of the box for homeowners. And so we've looked at a hub-based approach for both. We just announced those just recently, and we're promoting them today. Working Group 3, for those of you who've been around since the beginning of the foundation, Working Group 3 used to be on software updates, but we changed that to look at certification. And as we got into the work, there was a piece of important work that we didn't identify originally, but we started talking about regulation. Of course, regulation and certification are hot themes. We'll be talking about that more later in the day. But the question came out, well, are we already on the hook? We don't have an omnibus IoT security regulation today. It may come. We know regulation is coming, what form. There are various flavors around the world. So I briefed our partners in this, Oxford Information Labs. I said what we really need is a kind of a 10-page report on what's going on around the world. We got the first draft. It was about 100 pages. That clearly didn't work. So what we've done is we've boiled it down a little bit. We've got 2 versions. We've got a full-fat version, which is about 70 pages, and we've got a shorter version, which is the white cover, and that's just under 20 pages. But that fundamentally gives you a look at 5 regions around the world and 3 policies in each. and that will give you a flavour of what's going on. And we also give our view about what's coming. So if regulation is something you're interested in, then I suggest that you download and read the reports. What I would say is that we made a conscious decision at the board level that all our outputs will be free at the point of use. We recognise that cost is a barrier to security, and we didn't want that to be an issue. So all of these materials are free for you to download straight off the website. I got quite excited about this one. I'll tell you why. Earlier this year, DCMS, UK government, published their Secure by Design report, and inside the Secure by Design report, there was a code of practice which had 13 guidelines. The top 3, if I remember correctly, are no default passwords, have a vulnerability disclosure policy, and make sure you can do security updates. So what we decided to do, and by the way, this is targeted at consumers. So what we decided to do was take a look at actually, if number 2 is have a vulnerability disclosure policy, how many companies that are producing products today have a vulnerability disclosure policy? So we've done the research. It's a global report. We had 331 companies in the report. And the headlines are, you may not be surprised, certainly I was surprised, but those I talked to are not surprised. Only less than 10% global companies have a vulnerability disclosure policy that we could detect. And I emphasize that we could detect, and the point about vulnerability disclosure is it needs to be a low barrier to entry. So we suspect that they don't have vulnerability disclosure policies. What we've also done is published all the companies that we looked at. So if you produce consumer IoT products and you're selling them, take a look at the report. If you have customers that produce those products and they're in there, please make sure they read the report. As I say, it's number 2 priority from the UK government. This is an interesting one. Again, part of our history, we realized that there was just so many bad stories about IoT insecurity, and we felt we needed to redress the balance a little bit. We know that there are a lot of good companies doing the right thing, so we decided this year we would celebrate at least one of them, get things going. So this year we had our inaugural winners of the IoT Security Foundation champion. I'm delighted to say that the company won it is just as it looks on the screen there. That is pronounced Arçelik. Arçelik are a global appliance manufacturer. For those in the UK, you may recognise them for brands like Beko and Grundig. I'm decided to take the opportunity to tell you about training. I was looking recently about the feedback from the training that we provide, and we do this in partnership with our friends at Copper Horse. The feedback is very good. I mean, it's exceptional, actually. And when we set the course up, David Rogers, who his company runs the course, I remember the discussion. We were talking about who we should target, and he said to me, "Do you know, John, it doesn't really matter. We can flick this training course either way, depending on what the cohort looks like. So equally, we can apply it to people who are on maybe at the reception desk, if that's what we need, or we can flip it to developers." And I didn't think that could be done, but I sat in on the first training course, and there was a good mix of people there, and it's exactly what we did. And you can only do that if you've got really good quality trainers who can adapt to the situation. So David is upstairs with Copper Horse. They have an exhibition table. If you're interested in training, and I hope you are, please go and see them. I'm looking at the dates that we published, and a couple of things occurred to me. One is if you're a manager and you want your staff to attend training course, there's some options there for you throughout Europe. But also I was looking at it a little bit selfishly, thinking, do you know what? I need to get to some of these because Barcelona sounds really good to me in May. Windsor's a great place to visit in the UK if you need to be a bit more local. And hey, what if you want to do some skiing later in the year? Well, Innsbruck sounds good to me too. So hopefully there's a bit more motivation. I am very excited to tell you about development of some what we see as core products of the foundation today, new and improved. I hope you like the fancy graphics that I've put together there with the star. Spent a lot of time on that. I'm delighted to tell you that there is a new version of the Connected Consumer Products business, Best Practice Guide. And again, for those of you who have been with us through the journey, you know that we started in consumer. That was our starting point because that's where we saw the most acute need for good advice. Again, with the IoT security compliance framework, we started out looking at the consumer space, and I think our original idea was that we were going to produce such guidance for different verticals. In fact, I'm delighted to tell you that we've solved that problem because we've changed the basis in which the guide works. We've moved it to a risk-based approach, which means the framework is now generally applicable. So it's as applicable in consumer as it is in medical and industrial. You'll hear a bit more about this later in the next session for those of you who attend that. But that's a significant piece of work by a lot of good people. I was speaking to somebody recently who said to me, do you know, we use the compliance framework, and what we like about it is it's just written in everyday language. You can really apply it. And I said, yeah, well, that's not by accident, because the people who put this together are not just security experts. We have product engineers too, the people who actually need to use this. So congratulations on the group for producing that. Again, I'm very proud of that. It's a major couple of pieces of work. So that's the quick update from me. More throughout the day, I hope. Onto the conference very quickly. We're all in here for the first session, so that's nice and easy. But after the break, we split out into 3 tracks. The executive session stays here, and the technical tracks are in the rooms behind you. We have Flowers, as I'm looking on the right, and Lovelace on the left. What I'm going to do before we finish the session is to help you decide which session you may want to go to. I'm going to invite the chairs of those sessions to come up and do a 30-minute pitch to you before we go to the break. So hopefully that will sway some of the floating attendees today, which channel they want to go down. Again, it's a very rich agenda. What I hope I've given you, and in fact the committee have given you, is a bit of a conundrum, because you want to go to more than one talk. That's what we deliberately set out to do. Choose your favourite one, that's for sure. We are recording all the talks, and with the permission of the speakers, we will be publishing them, so the material will be available to you. We simply couldn't do this without the support of our sponsors. As you know, we're a non-profit organisation. It's not about the money. And so this event only really gets enabled with some good sponsors. So I'd like to thank all our sponsors for today. Again, just to you've really helped enable this event.